Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, cognitive subconscious patterns, audio, visual, and kinesthetic. People process the world through different dominant channels: auditory, words, internal dialogue; visual, symbols, images, spatial understanding; or kinesthetic, emotion, instinct, physical sensation. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, ruled by the sun, soul, truth, authority, and associated with the Vishwadevas, universal principles, virtue, tends to subconsciously process through a blend of visual and kinesthetic channels. These natives are naturally drawn to big picture clarity, visual, and inner emotional or moral resonance, kinesthetic. They often internalize information as truth they can feel and see clearly rather than just intellectually dissect. Their minds seek purpose, order, and long-term alignment, and they subconsciously filter experience through what feels deeply right, honorable, or true. Planetary placements in the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 10th houses shape how this subconscious style is expressed. If the sun is in the 1st or 5th house, the processing style is visual symbolic. These individuals are naturally attuned to purpose, ideals, and image. In Uttara Ashadha, the sun grants visionary perception. They internalize life as a symbolic journey towards self-mastery and often process meaning through ideals, visuals, or archetypes. If the sun is in the 10th, this visual clarity informs leadership. They are seen as figures of authority who understand the importance of image and direction. If the moon is in the 4th or 5th house, the processing becomes kinesthetic emotional. These individuals absorb life through their emotional body. Memory, instinct, and moral impact guide their decisions. In Uttara Ashadha, the moon roots them in emotional integrity. They feel when something resonates or violates truth. If the moon is in the 10th, their emotional wisdom is part of their public persona. They are perceived as deeply trustworthy or principled, even if they reveal little outwardly. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, auditory processing becomes more active. These individuals process through structured language, clear logic, or verbal reasoning. In Uttara Ashadha, Mercury brings mental discipline. They may prefer concise communication, clear speech, or internally structured thinking. If Mercury is in the 10th, they are often seen as articulate professionals or advisors, people who speak with clarity and moral authority. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the processing style is kinesthetic through instinct and discipline. These natives internalize experience through action, confrontation, and a physical sense of what is correct. In Uttara Ashadha, Mars channels truth into movement. They act on what they know to be right, even before they can explain it. If Mars is in the 10th, they may be public defenders, strategists, or disciplined leaders with a clear code of conduct. If Jupiter is in the 1st or 9th house, the processing becomes visual and philosophical. These individuals think in large symbolic arcs, moral frameworks, ethical teachings, or stories that reflect universal laws. In Uttara Ashadha, Jupiter adds wisdom and vision. They often absorb and filter information through meaning and principle rather than detail. If Jupiter is in the 10th, they become moral leaders or spiritual teachers, guiding others with big picture clarity and inner conviction. Uttara Ashadha's subconscious style is purpose-driven, quietly discerning, and value-centered. These natives don't just absorb what they're told. They internally evaluate. Is this true? Does it serve something lasting? They remember through impact, symbolic meaning, and embodied truth. When balanced, Uttara Ashadha becomes the noble visionary, processing life through a lens of order, ethics, and emotional clarity, then expressing it with dignity, direction, and soul. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, motivation direction, towards versus away from. Some individuals are motivated towards, driven by purpose, progress, achievement, or inner aspiration. Others are moved away from, seeking to avoid failure, emotional vulnerability, or misalignment with truth. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, ruled by the sun, identity, integrity, higher calling, and associated with the Vishwadevas, universal virtues like truth, strength, and will, leans strongly toward a towards motivation style. These natives are naturally focused on growth, legacy, and living up to inner standards. Their actions are driven by a sense of responsibility, dignity, and long-term fulfillment. They want to build something lasting, whether in self-mastery, career, family, or impact. However, When their identity is threatened or their principles compromised, Uttara Ashadha can shift briefly into an away-from mode, distancing themselves from dishonor, failure, or emotional exposure. Planetary placements in the 1st, 4th, 6th, and 10th houses shape how this motivational drive expresses itself. If the sun is in the 1st or 5th house, motivation is strongly towards, anchored in personal integrity, purpose, and a deep desire to actualize one's potential. These individuals are internally driven to lead, improve, or serve a meaningful path. In Uttara Ashadha, the sun gives them clarity. They often pursue mastery not for ego, but for alignment. If the sun is in the 10th, they are publicly seen as steady, reliable, and success-oriented, people who quietly command respect. If the moon is in the 4th or 7th house, motivation can blend away from emotional instability with a towards focus on emotional grounding and harmony. These individuals may withdraw from chaotic or unsafe environments in order to preserve emotional order. In Uttara Ashadha, the moon adds emotional intelligence. They are motivated to maintain peace through strength. If the moon is in the 10th, they are emotionally attuned professionals who aim for long-term balance over short-term validation. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, motivation is clearly towards, action-oriented and mission-driven. These individuals pursue goals with controlled force, often motivated by discipline, competition, or inner fire. In Uttara Ashadha, Mars sharpens their ability to cut through distraction. They move forward with quiet determination. If Mars is in the 10th, they are known as doers, focused, productive, and unwilling to be thrown off course by drama. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, motivation begins as away from, driven by the desire to avoid failure, loss of control, or moral compromise. Over time, this matures into a towards motivation for mastery, endurance, and ethical leadership. In Uttara Ashadha, Saturn anchors their will. They may start with caution, but build unshakable strength. If Saturn is in the 10th, they are respected for their patience and long-term integrity, seen as guardians of excellence. If Jupiter is in the 1st or 9th house, motivation is deeply towards spiritual, ethical, or philosophical expansion. These natives are driven by what feels morally right and universally true. In Uttara Ashadha, Jupiter expands their ideals. They pursue wisdom, justice, or service from a place of inner richness. If Jupiter is in the 10th, they may rise through mentorship, teaching, or spiritual work, roles that allow them to inspire others through purposeful direction. Uttara Ashadha's motivational essence is like a steady fire burning beneath calm waters. These natives are not fueled by urgency or external pressure. They are moved by inner alignment, principle, and the desire to fulfill something greater than themselves. Their growth lies in knowing when to release outdated standards or perfectionism and when to claim their right to succeed. When balanced, Uttara Ashadha becomes the quiet force of endurance, rising not from fear, but from unwavering purpose and the soul's will to complete what it began. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, attention direction, self or others. Some individuals focus attention primarily on the self, monitoring their internal standards, emotional state, and sense of alignment. Others direct their attention toward others, observing social dynamics, relationships, and the needs or expectations of those around them. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, ruled by the sun, identity, soul purpose, and associated with the Vishwadevas, universal virtues, duty, and inner truth, naturally leans toward a self-focused attention style. These natives are deeply inwardly guided, consistently checking whether their actions, roles, and relationships are aligned with their personal values and life mission. However, due to their sense of social responsibility and moral leadership, they can also shift into an others-focused mode, particularly in service, guidance, or public roles where their integrity is witnessed by or impacts others. Planetary placements in the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th houses reveal how this attentional balance manifests. If the sun is in the 1st or 5th house, attention is firmly self-directed. These individuals are aware of their purpose, image, and legacy. They measure their actions against their own internal standards. In Uttara Ashadha, the sun gives them a quiet self-awareness. They lead by living their values. If the sun is in the 10th, this becomes a public trait. They are respected for strong identity and consistent values, regardless of who is watching. If the moon is in the fourth or seventh house, attention shifts more toward others, especially in emotionally intimate or social environments. These individuals are sensitive to the needs, moods, and expectations of others, often placing harmony and connection above self-focus. In Uttara Ashadha, the moon adds emotional nobility. They care for others, but still feel deeply responsible for their own emotional boundaries. If moon is in the 10th, they are seen as emotionally intelligent leaders, tuned into people, yet anchored in personal strength. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, attention toggles between self and others, depending on context. These individuals are mentally agile, capable of focusing inward to process and outward to communicate. In Uttara Ashadha, Mercury brings thoughtful engagement. They notice subtle changes in tone, logic, or relational dynamics, yet filter those observations through a strong internal sense of clarity. If Mercury is in the 10th, they are known for clear, composed communication, neither overly self-centered nor overly reactive. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, attention is self-focused through action. These natives are goal-oriented and disciplined, often focused on personal progress or overcoming internal obstacles. In Uttara Ashadha, Mars strengthens their drive. They act from inner purpose, but may become selectively responsive to others when protecting or leading. If Mars is in the 10th, they lead by example, seen as driven, focused, and emotionally contained. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, attention is internally disciplined, yet shaped by external accountability. These individuals are highly self-monitoring, but they carry a sense of duty to others, especially in professional roles. In Uttara Ashadha, Saturn reinforces moral attention. They notice where they fall short and quietly course correct. If Saturn is in the 10th, they are viewed as responsible public figures, deeply inward, but quietly dependable in service to others. Uttara Ashadha's attention is like the steady flame of a soul watching its own path. These natives are anchored in self-awareness, but they honor others through consistency, fairness, and dignified presence. Their growth lies in balancing solitude with service, knowing when to turn inward for truth and when to extend that truth outward as quiet leadership. When aligned, Uttara Ashadha becomes a beacon, not by chasing attention, but by embodying unwavering integrity that others naturally follow. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, understanding chunk size, big or little. Some individuals understand reality through big chunks, grasping broad principles, moral frameworks, and long-term patterns. Others prefer little chunks, processing life in step-by-step sequences, details, or practical breakdowns. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, ruled by the sun, truth, authority, purpose, and associated with the Vishwadevas, universal virtues such as truth, order, and commitment, naturally leans toward a big chunk style of understanding. These natives are philosophical by nature, seeking clarity through overarching themes like justice, character, and spiritual growth. They instinctively zoom out to ask, what does this mean in the long run? Or does this align with my truth or legacy? However, when responsibility increases or precision is demanded, especially in leadership or service, they can shift into little chunk mode to handle details with quiet discipline. Planetary placements in the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 10th houses reveal how this scale of understanding is shaped. If the sun is in the 1st or 5th house, the understanding is broad, symbolic, and purpose-driven. These individuals intuitively absorb meaning through ideals and ethical clarity. In Uttara Ashadha, the sun enhances their ability to perceive the essence behind complexity. They're less focused on how and more focused on why. If the sun is in the 10th, they become respected visionaries, leaders whose clarity stems from principle more than process. If the moon is in the 4th or 5th house, the perception remains big picture, but emotionally anchored. These individuals understand through felt patterns what resonates emotionally, morally, or karmically. In Uttara Ashadha, moon adds intuitive depth. They connect emotionally to lessons, especially those with long-term meaning. If moon is in the 10th, they carry emotional maturity into public roles, able to guide others through inner steadiness and moral consistency. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 6th house, the mind is more attuned to little chunks, details, logic, and structured analysis. These individuals process best when breaking down large ideas into workable pieces. In Uttara Ashadha, Mercury brings refinement. They may organize their big picture wisdom into teachings, plans, or practical systems. If Mercury is in the 10th, they are known for clarity, respected for how they bring structure to values or vision. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, understanding is action-oriented and task-focused. These natives may process through doing, absorbing experience in real time, and learning through challenge. In Uttara Ashadha, Mars grounds their ideals. They want to act with purpose, but will attend to details when something must be executed properly. If Mars is in the 10th, they are seen as focused implementers, able to move from principle into action with determination. If Jupiter is in the 1st or 9th house, the perception becomes expansive and spiritual, deeply big chunk in scope. These individuals naturally connect ideas to dharma, ethics, and soul evolution. In Uttara Ashadha, Jupiter elevates their thought. They view life as a journey toward higher wisdom. If Jupiter is in the 10th, they may take on public roles as guides, teachers, or moral compasses, people who lead with faith and long-range vision. Uttara Ashadha's understanding is like a beam of sunlight across time, wide-reaching, morally aligned, and inwardly illuminated. These natives grasp life as a long arc of character, karma, and truth. Their growth lies in knowing when to zoom in, when life demands detail, humility, and structure, and when to return to their natural spaciousness. When integrated, Uttara Ashadha becomes the wise steward of truth, grounded in principle, expansive in thought, and precise only when it serves the greater path. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, frame of reference, internal or external. Some individuals navigate life through an internal frame of reference, trusting their own values, instincts, and personal judgment. Others rely more on an external frame of reference, shaped by societal norms, validation, or feedback from authority figures. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, ruled by the sun, self-authority, inner light, soul truth, and associated with the Vishwadevas, universal virtues like truth, discipline, and justice, has a distinctly internal frame of reference. These natives are anchored in personal integrity and guided by their inner compass, even when external forces pressure them to conform. They often reflect deeply before acting, filtering decisions through their sense of duty, morality, and purpose. However, because Uttara Ashadha is also connected to long-term leadership and legacy, these natives may reference the external world to ensure their values are applied responsibly, especially in public or professional roles. Planetary placements in the 4th, 7th, and 10th houses show how this internal compass interacts with outer expectations. If the sun is in the 1st or 5th house, the frame of reference is strongly internal. These individuals have a clear sense of self and purpose. They make choices based on whether something aligns with their principles. In Uttara Ashadha, the sun intensifies this. Truth and righteousness guide them more than popularity or trend. If the sun is in the 10th, their inner convictions are expressed through leadership. They are respected for standing firm even when it's not the easy path. If the moon is in the 4th or 7th house, the reference may shift toward external emotional feedback, especially in relationships or domestic life. These individuals value connection and at times may defer to others' needs to keep the peace. In Uttara Ashadha, moon brings depth. They care about others' feelings, but must learn not to override their truth for harmony. If moon is in the 10th, their emotional intelligence is seen publicly, but they must stay connected to their center to avoid burnout or overaccommodation. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, the frame of reference becomes more balanced, seeking clarity through both internal logic and outer dialogue. These individuals may listen to feedback, but will still mentally test it against what they believe. In Uttara Ashadha, Mercury makes them excellent communicators. They refine their truth, but they don't abandon it. If Mercury is in the 10th, they may be admired for their composed speech and moral reasoning in public roles. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, the reference system begins internally, but often bends toward external duty and structure. These individuals feel a responsibility to uphold tradition, fulfill roles, or earn respect over time. In Uttara Ashadha, Saturn reinforces the need to live with integrity. but it may delay self-trust until they've proven themselves through effort. If Saturn is in the 10th, they are viewed as honorable and consistent, but their deepest clarity still comes from within. If Jupiter is in the 1st or 9th house, the frame of reference is internally philosophical, grounded in personal faith, moral compass, or spiritual law. These individuals seek wisdom from teachers or texts, but ultimately decide what resonates with their soul. In Uttara Ashadha, Jupiter uplifts their discernment. They grow by testing ideals in real life. If Jupiter is in the 10th, they may be seen as mentors or guides, trusted not just for what they know, but for how clearly they live it. Uttara Ashadha's default frame is inner truth measured against universal law. These natives listen to the world, but act from the soul. Their evolution lies in balancing self-trust with wise responsiveness, learning when to remain rooted and when to adapt with grace. When integrated, Uttara Ashadha becomes the noble steward, anchored in conscience, responsive to context, and devoted to walking their truth across time. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, action preference, proactive or reactive. Some individuals prefer a proactive action style, taking initiative, leading from the front, and shaping outcomes through intentional effort. Others lean toward a reactive approach, responding to situations based on emotional cues, external demands, or internal shifts. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, ruled by the sun, purpose, leadership, identity, and associated with the Vishwadevas, universal virtues like truth, willpower, and commitment, lean strongly toward a proactive action preference. These natives are guided by long-term vision, inner duty, and the desire to actualize purpose in the world. They tend to act from principle rather than pressure, often with calm resolve rather than impulsive force. However, when emotionally cornered or when their sense of dignity is compromised, they may briefly shift into reactive behavior, especially if they feel morally compelled to respond. Planetary placements in the 3rd, 6th, and 10th houses help reveal whether their actions remain steady or shift based on environment. If the sun is in the 1st or 5th house, the action style is confidently proactive. These individuals are self-initiating, goal-focused, and often move forward from a place of purpose and clarity. In Uttara Ashadha, the sun gives quiet strength. They don't act loudly, but they act decisively. If the sun is in the 10th, they are seen as dependable leaders who plan, persist, and act with authority. If the moon is in the 4th or 7th house, the style becomes more reactive, especially to emotional shifts or relationship dynamics. These individuals may wait to feel emotionally secure before acting. In Uttara Ashadha, moon adds sensitivity. They are attuned to timing, but may delay movement if emotional waters are unclear. If moon is in the 10th, their leadership is responsive. They move carefully, but when they do, it's with intuitive depth. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the native becomes more visibly proactive, especially through assertive, purposeful action. These individuals push forward, often solving problems before they escalate. In Uttara Ashadha, Mars channels ambition into disciplined effort. They act not from ego, but from conviction. If Mars is in the 10th, they are seen as dynamic, action-driven professionals, strong-willed and respected for their ability to execute under pressure. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, the action preference is strategically proactive. These individuals initiate through communication, planning, and negotiation. In Uttara Ashadha, Mercury gives thoughtful precision. They speak and act when it's most effective. If Mercury is in the 10th, they lead through ideas, valued for their logic, timing, and emotional intelligence in public discourse. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, the action style is slow but deeply proactive. These individuals don't rush. They build foundations before they move. In Uttara Ashadha, Saturn adds discipline. They may appear reactive because of their patience, but their actions are deliberate and calculated. If Saturn is in the 10th, they are known as long-term builders, those who act with endurance and honor their responsibilities with unwavering steadiness. Uttara Ashadha's approach to action is like a quiet arrow pulled back with purpose, measured, thoughtful, and guided by truth. These natives act not to prove, but to fulfill. Their growth lies in knowing when to wait and when to act, without compromising their integrity or momentum. When balanced, Uttara Ashadha becomes the dignified executor, rising with calm resolve, acting from principle, and completing what others only begin. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra operational style, options versus procedures. Some individuals thrive on options, preferring flexibility, creative freedom, and the ability to adapt in the moment. Others operate best through procedures, favoring structure, consistency, and time-tested systems. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, ruled by the sun, discipline, clarity, authority, and associated with the Vishwadevas, universal virtues like truth, order, and responsibility, naturally leans toward a procedural operational style. These natives value systems that support their long-term goals and uphold moral or structural integrity. They often function best when working within a clear framework, one they either inherited, earned through experience, or refined over time. However, because of their inner confidence and wisdom, they can also incorporate options when a situation calls for graceful leadership, flexibility, or wisdom beyond the rules. Planetary placements in the 3rd, 6th, and 10th houses shape how rigid or adaptive their workflow becomes. If the sun is in the 1st or 5th house, the style is self-authored procedure. These individuals act according to personal code and prefer to create their own structure rather than blindly follow someone else's. In Uttara Ashadha, the sun adds moral clarity. They adhere to procedures that align with their truth. If the sun is in the 10th, they are seen as principled and reliable, leaders who follow through and uphold a standard. If the moon is in the 4th or 6th house, the operational style is rhythmic but intuitive. These individuals need emotional consistency and may adopt procedures for inner peace rather than external order. In Uttara Ashadha, moon brings flow to their structure. They work best in calm, organized environments. If moon is in the 10th, they are seen as emotionally steady professionals, those who maintain order with a gentle touch. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, the approach becomes structured but flexible. These individuals enjoy working within a system but want room to refine it mentally or communicate its value. In Uttara Ashadha, Mercury brings logical flow. They are precise thinkers who improve the systems they inherit. If Mercury is in the 10th, they may be known for efficient planning, policymaking, or well-organized leadership. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the style is procedural through discipline and drive. These individuals execute plans with consistency, especially when aligned with personal values or service. In Uttara Ashadha, Mars energizes structure. They don't need chaos to act. They thrive with order. If Mars is in the 10th, they rise through disciplined effort, often recognized for staying focused, goal-oriented, and direct in execution. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, the operational style is deeply procedural and principled. These individuals rely on step-by-step mastery and honor the weight of responsibility. In Uttara Ashadha, Saturn reinforces integrity. They may move slowly, but their systems are enduring. If Saturn is in the 10th, they are trusted professionals, those who carry legacies, build stable structures, and lead through consistency. Uttara Ashadha's workflow is like a steady, soul-led march toward mastery. These natives don't resist structure, they refine it. Their power lies in knowing that true freedom comes from alignment, not disorder. Their growth comes when they allow flexibility without compromising core values. When balanced, Uttara Ashadha becomes the noble executor, operating with clarity, order, and quiet excellence, capable of honoring both timeless truths and the present need for wisdom in motion. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra views, general or specific. Some individuals operate with a general view, perceiving life through broad patterns, timeless principles, or big picture meaning. Others focus on a specific view, attuned to details, practical nuance, and step-by-step understanding. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, ruled by the sun, truth, purpose, higher vision, and associated with the Vishwadevas, universal virtues like righteousness, strength, and clarity, leans strongly toward a general perspective. These natives are natural big picture thinkers who seek alignment with ideals, long-term goals, and moral direction. They often ask, does this align with truth, or is this part of something greater, rather than getting caught up in minor inconsistencies. However, when tasked with leadership, service, or legacy building, they can shift into a specific view, especially if the details serve a larger mission or uphold their personal standards. Planetary placements in the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 10th houses reveal how their perception scales from the universal to the precise. If the sun is in the 1st or 5th house, the view is deeply general and principle-driven. These individuals focus on meaning, vision, and soul truth. They interpret events in terms of character, honor, or dharma. In Uttara Ashadha, the sun brings spiritual clarity. They see life through a lens of moral growth. If the sun is in the 10th, this becomes a public trait. They are seen as wise, consistent, and oriented toward legacy. If the moon is in the 4th or 5th house, the perception remains general, but with emotional depth. These individuals interpret life through long-term emotional patterns, how something feels over time, not just in the moment. In Uttara Ashadha, the moon adds empathy. They absorb emotional meaning and connect it to personal and collective truth. If moon is in the 10th, they are seen as emotionally stable leaders, offering guidance grounded in maturity and insight. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 6th house, the view becomes more specific and mentally detailed. These individuals prefer clarity, precision, and breaking down large ideas into workable thoughts. In Uttara Ashadha, Mercury adds structure to their vision. They articulate big truths through refined language. If Mercury is in the 10th, they are admired for strategic communication, often blending wisdom with clear execution. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the view shifts to specific, action-oriented focus. These natives perceive reality through function and correction, what needs to be done, fixed, or defended. In Uttara Ashadha, Mars sharpens their sense of justice. They zoom in when truth is on the line. If Mars is in the 10th, they become problem solvers or enforcers of integrity, known for direct, decisive leadership. If Jupiter is in the 1st or 9th house, the view remains fully general and spiritual. These individuals think in terms of destiny, universal law, and wisdom teachings. In Uttara Ashadha, Jupiter enhances moral perception. They seek to connect knowledge with dharma. If Jupiter is in the 10th, they are seen as visionary guides, spiritual leaders, or advisors who draw others toward long-term clarity and soul alignment. Uttara Ashadha's vision is like the high sun casting light across time, steady, wide-reaching, and grounded in meaning. These natives are not distracted by noise. They seek what endures. Their evolution lies in knowing when to stay lofty and when to engage detail to uphold what matters. When balanced, Uttara Ashadha becomes the moral architect, seeing the map of life, pointing to truth, and illuminating a path that others can follow with trust. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, work preferences, together, proximity, or solo. Some individuals thrive working together, engaging in collaboration, team synergy, and shared missions. Others prefer proximity, working independently while still remaining in communication or emotional connection with others. Some feel most effective working solo, where focus, autonomy, and self-responsibility can be maintained. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, ruled by the sun, sovereignty, self-leadership, and associated with the Vishwadevas, universal virtues like truth, responsibility, and endurance, naturally leans toward a solo or proximity work style. These natives are deeply purpose-driven, self-regulating, and value inner alignment over external involvement. While they can work harmoniously in teams, they prefer roles where their personal integrity, independence, and vision are respected. Their leadership style is steady, principled, and often behind the scenes. Planetary placements in the 3rd, 6th, and 10th houses reveal how this preference is shaped and expressed. If the sun is in the 1st or 5th house, the preference is distinctly solo. These individuals are self-governed and thrive when they can lead themselves without micromanagement. In Uttara Ashadha, the sun enhances their natural sense of authority. They don't avoid people, but they work best when their autonomy is protected. If the sun is in the 10th, they are respected leaders who prefer directing rather than depending, seen as self-contained yet steady influences. If the moon is in the 4th or 7th house, the preference may lean toward proximity. These individuals need emotional resonance in their environment and can work well around others as long as emotional balance and mutual respect are maintained. In Uttara Ashadha, moon adds receptivity. They're not socially driven, but appreciate presence. If the moon is in the 10th, they bring quiet emotional intelligence to leadership roles. often valued for their stabilizing relational presence. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, the preference is proximity, especially when communication, strategy, or intellectual feedback is needed. These individuals like sharing ideas but still prefer space for personal decision-making. In Uttara Ashadha, Mercury refines the need for interaction. They engage thoughtfully, not casually. If Mercury is in the 10th, they thrive in leadership roles that require structured conversation, writing, or guidance, communicating from a calm, reasoned place. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the style becomes solo with disciplined intent. These individuals work best when they are focused, goal-driven, and free from distraction. In Uttara Ashadha, Mars brings quiet fire. They're highly productive alone and often prefer it. If Mars is in the 10th, they are seen as capable and self-motivated, those who take charge without demanding attention or applause. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, the preference leans towards solo within structure, or proximity with clear boundaries. These individuals are committed, reliable, and do not need hand-holding, but they value clarity in roles and expectations. In Uttara Ashadha, Saturn reinforces integrity. They quietly carry weight without complaining. If Saturn is in the 10th, they become respected elders or mentors, those who serve through responsibility, not showmanship. Uttara Ashadha's ideal work style is quietly sovereign. Whether working alone or near others, they operate from a place of inner order and commitment. They lead through presence, not pressure. Their growth lies in choosing roles that reflect their values and allow their actions to speak louder than their words. When aligned, Uttara Ashadha becomes the calm executor, steady, enduring, and powerfully self-led, building legacies not from noise, but from noble consistency. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra. Experience, association versus dissociation. Some individuals move through life in association, fully present in their emotions, immersed in their experiences, and emotionally affected by what unfolds. Others lean toward dissociation, mentally stepping back, observing from a distance, or emotionally detaching to maintain control or clarity. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, ruled by the sun, identity, integrity, soul-driven purpose, and associated with the Vishwadevas. Universal virtues like truth, endurance, and responsibility, tends toward a measured association style. These natives feel deeply, but they often do so quietly, processing internally rather than reacting openly. They value composure, dignity, and thoughtful presence, so even when emotionally immersed, they maintain a strong filter of self-regulation. However, when their boundaries are threatened or emotional overwhelm sets in, they can shift into functional dissociation, not as avoidance, but as a method of staying centered. Planetary placements in the 4th, 5th, and 10th houses reveal how their engagement with emotion plays out in public and private spheres. If the sun is in the 1st or 5th house, the experience is strongly associated, but with an inner command. These individuals are present, emotionally aligned, and act from purpose. In Uttara Ashadha, the sun brings quiet immersion. They feel their truth, but don't always display it. If the sun is in the 10th, this emotional association shapes their leadership. They are present and heart-aligned, even when they appear reserved. If the moon is in the 4th or 5th house, the experience leans toward deep emotional association, especially in private. These natives are emotionally rich, introspective, and deeply affected by their experiences, but they may not share easily. In Uttara Ashadha, the moon adds steadiness. They feel, process, and carry emotional memory with quiet wisdom. If the moon is in the 10th, their emotional presence is seen publicly. They may lead with heart, even if their vulnerability is carefully held. If Mercury is in the 5th or 10th house, the style may lean toward dissociation through analysis. These individuals may intellectualize or compartmentalize their feelings, especially when under stress. In Uttara Ashadha, Mercury brings thoughtful clarity. They assess emotions rather than being consumed by them. If Mercury is in the 10th, this mental distance becomes a professional strength. They lead with logic, but remain quietly grounded in emotional integrity. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the experience becomes selectively associated. They engage deeply when something matters, especially in moments of principle or challenge. In Uttara Ashadha, Mars gives passion with restraint. They act with force when moved, but conserve energy when it's not worth the fight. If Mars is in the 10th, their emotional engagement is tied to action. They may appear calm, but become fiery when values are violated. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, the experience often leans toward controlled dissociation. These individuals may feel deeply but delay emotional processing in favor of duty or composure. In Uttara Ashadha, Saturn creates emotional discipline. They protect their inner world until it's safe to engage. If Saturn is in the 10th, they are seen as stoic, stable, and respectful, those who carry emotional depth without emotional display. Uttara Ashadha's experience is like a flame beneath still water, emotionally alive, but rarely chaotic. These natives associate with truth, meaning, and emotional reality, but they value restraint and depth over dramatics. Their growth lies in knowing when to remain composed and when to allow themselves full emotional immersion. When balanced, Uttara Ashadha becomes the noble feeler, one who honors what they feel without letting it control them, walking through life with quiet passion and unwavering purpose. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra approach, matching versus mismatching. Some individuals naturally adopt a matching approach, seeking what aligns, harmonizes, and confirms their values or worldview. Others operate through a mismatching lens, noticing what's off, what doesn't belong, or where truth is being compromised. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, ruled by the sun, truth, dignity, discernment, and associated with the Vishwadevas, universal principles like order, virtue, and clarity, primarily leans toward a matching approach. These natives instinctively look for what fits: truth, character, and consistency, especially in people, environments, and belief systems. They seek alignment between values and actions, ideals and outcomes. However, when confronted with hypocrisy, injustice, or moral misalignment, Uttara Ashadha can shift into a mismatching stance, firmly pointing out what no longer holds integrity. Their mismatching is not reactive, it's principled. Planetary placements in the 3rd, 6th, and 10th houses reveal how these approaches are expressed and balanced. If the sun is in the 1st or 5th house, the approach is clearly matching, filtered through identity and moral alignment. These individuals seek congruence between who they are and what they see around them. In Uttara Ashadha, the sun adds righteous clarity. They trust their inner compass and are drawn to what strengthens their character. If the sun is in the 10th, they are seen as steady, noble leaders, ones who embody what they expect from others. If the moon is in the 4th or 7th house, the approach is matching through emotional resonance. These natives are drawn to emotional harmony, relational truth, and environments that feel consistent with their inner values. In Uttara Ashadha, moon adds grace. They are slow to judge but deeply aware when something feels energetically off. If the moon is in the 10th, they carry emotional wisdom into public life, valued for their calm, ethical discernment. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, the approach is more analytical, leaning toward mismatching when communication or logic breaks down. These individuals notice subtle inconsistencies, and while they prefer agreement, they will challenge dishonesty or poor reasoning. In Uttara Ashadha, Mercury sharpens the mind. They speak with calm precision when calling out imbalance. If Mercury is in the 10th, they may be known for clear judgment and principled speech. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the approach may begin with matching, but shifts into mismatching through action when integrity is threatened. These individuals don't argue for the sake of it. They confront when something violates their moral code. In Uttara Ashadha, Mars brings restrained fire. They don't pick fights, but they finish them with honor. If Mars is in the 10th, they lead through action, standing firm when pressure tests their values. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, the approach is matching through structure, but with a built-in mismatching filter that slowly evaluates what holds up under time and pressure. These natives may not criticize outwardly, but they withdraw energy from anything that doesn't meet their quiet standards. In Uttara Ashadha, Saturn makes their discernment quiet but powerful. If Saturn is in the 10th, they are trusted authorities, known for upholding what's fair, real, and enduring. Uttara Ashadha's approach to life is like a moral compass that quietly scans for alignment. These natives want to believe in what they're part of, to match with truth, vision, and responsibility. But when things deviate from principle, they are not afraid to question or correct. Their growth lies in knowing when to gently realign and when to draw the line with grace. When balanced, Uttara Ashadha becomes the ethical force, seeking unity where possible and applying clarity when it's not. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, time experience, in time versus through time. Some individuals live in time, fully present, emotionally responsive, and engage with what's unfolding in the now. Others operate through time, tracking consequences, past experiences, and future goals as part of a larger arc of meaning. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, ruled by the sun, long-term purpose, soul direction, and associated with the Vishwadevas, universal virtues like truth, order, and endurance, leans strongly toward a through-time orientation. These natives are deeply aware of continuity, how today's actions impact tomorrow's legacy, and how past choices shape present character. They are not impulsive. Instead, they move with calm foresight and a quiet awareness of their karmic path. However, in moments of emotional clarity or moral urgency, Uttara Ashadha can shift into in-time mode, responding directly to what is needed in the present, especially when leadership or protection is required. Planetary placements in the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th houses shape how these time orientations are expressed. If the sun is in the 1st or 5th house, the experience of time is clearly through time, guided by identity, vision, and an unfolding sense of destiny. These individuals act with a long view, often asking, how will this matter later? Or what will I become because of this? In Uttara Ashadha, the sun lends quiet focus. They are building something that lasts. If the sun is in the 10th, this becomes public. They are seen as steady professionals or mentors who lead with long-term clarity. If the moon is in the 4th or 7th house, time may be experienced more in time, especially when emotions or relationships are involved. These natives respond to the present moment based on emotional cues and felt truth. In Uttara Ashadha, the moon brings integrity to emotion. They may feel things deeply in the moment, but later reflect with lasting insight. If moon is in the 10th, they appear emotionally steady in public, balancing intuition with legacy-conscious decisions. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, the time orientation becomes more through time, processed through reflection and careful planning. These individuals think before they act, measuring words and steps with long-term impact in mind. In Uttara Ashadha, Mercury adds mental structure. They prepare for what's next, even while managing the moment. If Mercury is in the 10th, they are seen as deliberate communicators, respected for their composed, future-aware speech and strategy. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the time experience may shift toward in time, especially when action is required. These individuals act on instinct and inner direction, especially when a decision must be made swiftly. In Uttara Ashadha, Mars gives noble urgency. They may leap to act, but only when the cause is justified. If Mars is in the 10th, they are recognized as effective leaders who act when others hesitate, blending immediacy with vision. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, the time orientation is deeply through time, slow, steady, and shaped by consequence. These individuals rarely rush. They move with gravity, waiting until they're certain. In Uttara Ashadha, Saturn reinforces maturity. They often carry the past, present, and future in every step. If Saturn is in the 10th, they are public stewards of legacy, trusted for their patience, responsibility, and long-term insight. Uttara Ashadha's time experience is like a mountain shaped by centuries of wind, firm, timeless, and measured. These natives don't chase moments. They honor the arc of character, legacy, and fulfillment. Their growth lies in knowing when to pause for reflection and when to rise with presence. When integrated, Uttara Ashadha becomes the master of time, not rushed by the now, nor haunted by the past, but aligned with the eternal rhythm of purposeful evolution. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, primary interest motivation, people, activities, places, or things. Some individuals are primarily motivated by people, relationships, connection, recognition, or shared values. Others are drawn to activities, tasks, leadership, purposeful movement, or self-discipline. Some feel pulled toward places, environments that reflect peace, power, or alignment with their long-term goals. Others are driven by things, tools, symbols of status, or structured systems. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, ruled by the sun, purpose, sovereignty, legacy, and associated with the Vishwadevas' universal virtues like truth, order, and integrity, is most deeply motivated by activities and places, particularly those connected to meaningful work, moral leadership, and purposeful achievement. These natives are driven to complete what they start, to do the right thing, and to build something lasting. While they respect people and can hold symbolic value in material things, their core motivation is rooted in legacy and inner alignment with duty. Planetary placements in the 1st, 3rd, 6th, and 10th houses show how this interest unfolds in real life. If the sun is in the 1st or 5th house, activities, especially those that affirm identity, responsibility, or personal growth, are the core motivators. These individuals are self-guided and take pride in their efforts. In Uttara Ashadha, the sun brings noble intent. They are motivated by the quiet fire of fulfilling purpose. If the sun is in the 10th, they are seen as dependable leaders who strive to achieve not just for success, but to live up to their potential. If the moon is in the 4th or 7th house, the native may be more motivated by people, especially relationships that provide emotional stability, respect, or shared purpose. In Uttara Ashadha, the moon adds emotional dignity. They seek depth, not attention. If moon is in the 10th, their public life often involves people-centered roles, guiding, managing, or mentoring others with empathy and consistency. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the motivation is action-oriented and tied to activities, particularly those that involve challenge, mastery, or protection. These individuals are inspired by meaningful effort. In Uttara Ashadha, Mars adds righteous energy. They are driven to fight for what's correct or to build systems that endure. If Mars is in the 10th, they may rise as silent warriors, respected for getting things done with focus and purpose. If Mercury is in the 3rd or 10th house, the native is often drawn to things, systems, ideas, tools, or communication structures that support their clarity or service. These individuals are mentally sharp, seeking understanding and refined expression. In Uttara Ashadha, Mercury adds structure. They're motivated by making things work smoothly and effectively. If Mercury is in the 10th, they thrive in roles that involve teaching, strategy, or principled advising. If Jupiter or Saturn is in the 1st, 9th, or 10th house, places, especially those that symbolize responsibility, power, or moral alignment, become powerful motivators. These natives feel called to institutions, sacred settings, or professional spaces that reflect their values. In Uttara Ashadha, Jupiter seeks spiritual meaning in place, while Saturn brings dedication to duty within place. If either is in the 10th, these individuals often hold positions of public trust, where they feel motivated to build and uphold structures that serve the greater good. Uttara Ashadha's motivation flows like a river toward responsibility and rightful action. These natives are here to complete, to fulfill karmic tasks, to stand for something lasting, and to elevate their environment through presence and principle. Their growth lies in aligning their interests with soul purpose, not chasing reward, but honoring the journey. When balanced, Uttara Ashadha becomes the noble builder, motivated by what is right, enduring and true, committed to action that leaves behind a legacy of dignity and light.